Welcome to Land Language, the podcast transforming landscapes from toxic to regenerative. We're your host, Brit from Blueprint Earth,
and co-host Bethany from Bethany Rydmark Landscapes.
We explore beautiful, functional design through conversations with scientists, vendors, contractors, and designers who are changing the industry.
Whether you're in the field or at the drafting table, join us as we explore regenerative practices that care for people, place, and planet.
Let's dig in. Ground level. So when we decided to join forces, we both really appreciated each other's work, like fangirled. Yeah.
I think it had been a couple of years of watching posts, Instagram stories, photos of built projects.
And just being like, ooh, girl, you get it.
I think we tried for a coffee date and I was so busy and you were kind and available and it just got postponed until the magic time when we finally did get to meet in person. I was like, oh, I feel like we're old friends, but I'm just meeting you for the first time.
Yeah. And I was like, Bethany, I really have this vision and this desire to go and do this podcast because both you and I live in this world of really wanting to produce regenerative, meaning sustainable landscapes. And it really feels like we have to get together and talk about it because there's not really a lot available in the industry in terms of like goods, and there's not really a lot available in the industry in terms of educating the processes from a perspective of like design leading construction into truly regenerative practices. Because a lot of times we just get stuck and pigeonholed into what we can buy and what people have done before and compost good enough. But I have this really deep desire, and you have this really deep desire to come together and help find the nitty-gritty details of what it actually means to have a regenerative practice and what it actually means to be a sustainable design company. Because like right now, up until this point, like I've been failing at it. Totally.
We have our ideals, and then there's the reality of life on the ground when you've got deadlines and requests and the age-old ways of getting things done. I think that's one of my experiences is witnessing the efficiencies of having systems and processes and materials and contractors and just the ways of past work. But we're pushing into a time when those things don't always even work anymore, right? Whether we have so many different topics to touch on, but whether we're talking about simply the climate shift and our success rate of plants that in the past we would be happy to put in the ground and walk away and know that they would thrive. And now it doesn't matter that we would wish for that. It doesn't work that way anymore. So we have to find new ways. We have to change our practices. And so that efficiency of the old school way of getting things done meets the idealism of knowing we have a different place to go, but bumping into the places of unknown or lack of experience or experimentation or trying to foster goodwill with clients that might be open for a different way of doing things, but we don't have as many examples quite yet to show them. And so we're asking them to trust as we go forward into new methods or working with contractors like yourself and folks that want to bring new ways of work to the world, but we're still learning as we go. And that's, you're saying your experience of feeling like failing at times and my experience of feeling like, I wish that I knew more. I wish that I had a better way to connect all these different dots because I know in the big picture, this is the healthy way that we are going toward the future. We want to change things, but there are so many missing little gaps, either in communications between teams or in availability of materials or in just the knowledge base to make us all confident enough to represent these ideas and get the buy-in of everyone involved in the team, client, builder, designer. We're working our way. I feel like we're building our bridge to the future, like a step at a time as we're walking out over it. And I think the idea of getting to have these conversations with you and our guests and bring in more insights from outside of our own little worlds. We can look up from our own desks, our own wheelbarrows, our own trips to the nursery, whatever it is. We can look up and start to learn from each other and knit together a new way of practice. And I feel like there's some community and that gives us courage to change, right? Because if we're trying to change in our own world by ourselves, in my world, there's a hesitancy of, I hope this works. I hope we can pull it off. I hope we can make this happen. In theory, it sounds good. And theory gets to start becoming real practice when you have conversations with someone else who says, hey, actually, I've done this. Or, hey, here's a source for something that is new to us, but we've been having great success. And let's implement it again and see if the second and the third and the 12th time become then the new standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are my thoughts.
And like within consumerism of landscape, because landscape is still there's a lot of consumed goods. There is this cycle of three real people within any sort of landscape design to construction process. There is the end user, the client. There is the contractor. And then there is the vendor. And the client and the designer live together because they're the ones coming up with the dream. So there's the dreamer and the receiver, the contractor, and then the vendor. And if you ask each one of them why they have what they have, they all point to each other. If we're asking about a concrete paver and you're going to Mutual Materials, for instance, here, and you say, hey, I want to know if you have a agricrete paver or some sort of carbon sequestering paver, because I feel like if we're going to put out a bunch of hardscape surface, let's see if we can do something good and create a hard surface.
Here?
Yeah. And they're like, that's actually not in our production schedule ever right now. And you're like, why not? And they go, because contractor doesn't buy it. It doesn't seem like there's a market. Contractor says, designer told me to build this because client wants this. And then vendor says, see, client wants this, contractor wants this, we're making this. And
so we're stuck with the same old.
Exactly. And part of us coming together is to really start to educate ourselves. Like, this is also
That's what I'm excited to
Yeah.
dive. This is like field trip world for me to get to learn from every guest and
Yes.
expand my knowledge through their experience.
Yes. And the act of doing this podcast is to use that network of those conversations we would be having already, because we both seek out these conversations and bring it live.
Exactly.
Because it's such a valuable identity of education for the good of being able to transform the landscape industry from truly toxic. It is a pretty gross industry. To look at the products, the processes, the harvesting, the production, the chemicals, to something that is regenerative. And both being in the high-end design and construction realm, we have the ability to showcase something that is more regenerative, to spec the systems, the products. And part of this is also becoming loud. We can get some of the products that we actually desire.
Yes.
Because some of them are coming to market. And we need to say, hey, we're your buyer.
Yeah.
Like,
More of this, please.
yes. Like, for instance, I went to Ewing Irrigation recently and I said, hey, just so you know, there's this company in Colorado making this carbon sequestering paver, and I'm going to start buying it from them. And so you have the choice to become the middleman, or I'm going to buy it from them. I know that we do hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of business with you in a year. Do you want to keep my business in paver? Because this is what I'm going to do.
So your voice becomes that catalyst to shift the availability of that product here into the Northwest. Exactly.
Yeah. And we've come together in the Northwest. We're so lucky to have so many people and business owners who think like us. And nationwide, we hope that's your experience wherever you are too, that we all share knowledge. Like, we're part of this group of business owners that are women in sustainability with WISE, and then also the Oregon Regenerative Alliance, where landscape contractor owners come together and are all trying to pull, if we as a collective, tens of millions of dollars business, when we put all of ourselves together, what are we choosing? Because as a collective, we can shift the industry
Exactly.
faster than we can, each one of us as our much smaller entities. So the conversations here are for understanding what's available, for understanding how to create landscapes that are regenerative from the ground up, from excavation to regenerative soils, to knowing why these things are important, to product selection, and to money. Because I think a lot of people think that the money side of this idea is that it's really expensive. And does it have to be? Or do you just have to know what you're buying?
That's a sticky one. That could be a whole episode in and of itself as our investment. But I think there is so much to be gained from learning best practices, building better systems and channels to use good materials that will also help bring costs down when there's more of a specific supply demand security for producers to know that there's a market for what they are making. And then for us to be thoughtful in what we spend our clients' money on. I think even as design evolves in this era, learning where to be more restrained perhaps than in the past. I think, not to make sweeping generalizations, oftentimes in our makeover world, folks want to come and see a wild transformation. And maybe in the past that looked like, all right, scrape the earth bare and build your Taj Mahal of a garden with all these materials that you can grab easily from the sources that we all know. And I find it to be fascinating that these days there's sometimes an amazing amount of elegance and beauty and just a very specialness in being strategic about what you do and don't touch and what you do and don't build.
Totally.
And doing that in an artful, thoughtful way can actually create something that's unique and beautiful. And not to say that it's not expensive, because I don't want to go around pretending that, oh, we can find the cheapest way to do this in a very friendly way. Sometimes putting our money where our mouth is. And I think if I can jump over to an analogy from other worlds, right? You can go to the grocery store and buy the cheapest, kind of most chemical filled, rough, difficult to produce cleanly and really hard on our bodies kind of food. You can go and buy that, look at your receipt and get what you get. Or you can go and spend, oftentimes, unfortunately, more for something perhaps better. And it's not so much that better should be expensive. It's just that the systems that we have in place and the ways that we have subsidies and demand and just old school ways of doing things means that the higher quality takes a little more work. It takes farmers. It takes people being thoughtful about how they're producing. So in the same way, in the landscape world, some of what we would hope for that would be healthier is going to cost something. It takes an investment, but being able to do that and put our hearts and our dollars and our efforts and energies behind what we believe in, and then being able to see the results literally on the ground, in the ground, literally watching our soil come back to life in a healthy way and nourish plants that are also nourishing the ecological web of life around them, and making spaces that feel nourishing to humans and to other wildlife and creatures alike, right? All of that starts to come to place. And then you realize, oh, that investment was well spent, and that I'm reaping the rewards of what that cost me.
Right. And the future proofing of the landscape, that's a really big reason why we're having this conversation, because climate change, habitat disruption, like these are not words that not every household has some relationship with in their own version of those words. But people as a mass understand that how we're living and what we're doing and how we're consuming isn't working for our earth. It's poisoning it. And so if we get the opportunity just to shift the ability for landscaping as an industry to do some more good, we've done our job. And within landscaping, there really isn't much education. And a lot of the people who are the doers, the contractor, don't have a degree in horticulture or soil science or landscape architecture. A lot of times they're handed a shovel and that was their first job. Yes. And then they were like, okay, I'm good at this and I'm going to build a business of this. And they do what they were told and taught, which is we all do.
Which is wonderful. The can-do attitude and the willingness, that's part of the excitement that I can imagine in the future. As we spread more education and empower people to do better and different, they can bring that same can-do willing attitude. Because gosh, over the years, I've met so many amazing people building, constructing, crafting, making things. Let's just funnel that energy toward better construction, healthier construction, wiser construction, and elevate our entire practice, design, construction, end user, all of it into a place of health. Because I agree, there's a missing gap of information and it shouldn't continue to penalize the end result. Let's help fill that gap.
Yeah. And that's why we're doing this. Like, this is a free source. Listen in. Join us.
And not that we have all the answers, but we're going to talk to all these amazing people that have things to share with us. And so we can learn and you all can learn right along with us.
Totally. And the goal of every podcast is not just to hear us stipulate on all these ideas and have these like conversations, but to bring people who have sometimes inaccessible conversations, like scientists or vendors, where you don't really get to talk to the top of the food chain of a vendor, or you don't really get to talk to the scientist unless you go to some sort of lecture, but to bring them in and get the distilled understanding and the steps of what to do with that information. Because ultimately, if we don't offer you the value of understanding what to do with the information, it's just going to be information that gets stored in a file in the back of your brain. But we want to share the actual understanding of, now that I've heard this, I know that I need this source and that source and this source, or how to ask this question or that question or the other question to get to the result that is a regenerative landscape. So when you walk away from each one of our episodes, there will be clear steps forward. And that is our main goal here, because we need this to land.
Yes, let's implement. Let's take these things and actually implement. And again, give ourselves and give anyone listening a little bit of extra courage to just go experiment and try something new, something different, bring this knowledge, make a change, and watch those ripples and then go out. And let's continue to build a better industry based on incremental steps forward, where we're not scared to make a change. We've learned something from someone who has wisdom to share. Let's try it out and see, and then let's come back together and talk about it.
And we're learning alongside you. And as 15 years in the industry and 19 years in the industry, we still have so much to learn. And no matter if you are new in this industry or you have been here for 40 years and you're our mentor and elder in the community. We want to bring people in who share information with all of us to build all of us up so that we as a whole can create better regenerative practices. And there might be some episodes that don't really land for you. That's totally okay. This is not a Bible. We're not here to build like, this is exactly what you do. We're here to create information, bring information together to allow us to all make better decisions that help the industry as a whole, help the earth as a whole, and really share that core of why we're doing what we're doing. Because the truth about landscape people is there's a big heart. People who like plants,
they're good people.
They're really good people. So we know that you really care. We know that you love the planet. You wouldn't do this if you didn't. And we want to help you figure out how to love it a little more.
What are you excited for this season? I know we've had all sorts of fun previews.
Oh, gosh. The geeky inside. I think I'm really excited about soil science.
That's the foundation of it all.
Right? And, oh, gosh, I won't get too into it because we have a whole episode coming up about it. But it's the thing that gets left when everything else dies and everything ultimately dies. It's the thing that is always going to be there. And it's the thing that's getting raped on the earth that isn't really talked about, I think, in a big enough way of understanding that by removing it or disrupting it, the future evolution of our species could be
compromised.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's one of those hidden places of wealth. Like to the untrained eye, to the person who doesn't know very much different, you walk out and you see a patch of brown earth and you wouldn't know. But the difference between something that is robust and alive and full of mycorrhizal health and full of decomposing organic matter that's coming back to what it was forever ago as it's gone through its life cycle, there is so much richness that can then produce an amazing garden of wildly successful plants and wildlife and all the rest. And then you could also look at a plot of land across the street that's parched and dry, has had nothing thoughtful done to it. Maybe it's had a lot of destructive applications of whatever, fill in the blank, typical ways of treating our soil when we're not being thoughtful about it. And it's also brown bare earth, but it's not going to support a robust and thriving community. It's not going to yield better results for the people experiencing that space. And it's hard sometimes, again, like I'm thinking from my perspective as a landscape architect, when I'm guiding clients toward projects and we're thinking about where investments belong in different phases and where I've had a recent conversation just recently with clients about soil health in their particular property in a place where they've had a lot of soil compaction, they've had a lot of drainage problems, and we're putting in a beautiful garden. And there's always that fine line between how much do you invest at the beginning in this invisible quote unquote thing. Yeah. And it's an uphill battle still for me as a designer, because I have enough knowledge to recommend to them strongly, hey, here are some really thoughtful things that you can do that will build the soil. And honestly, your garden will be 3 times, 7 times, 10 times, whatever, more healthy and happy if you do it. But it costs money at the beginning. All those additives, whether they're any number of things. I'm geeking out right now about these wool pellets, not to get off on a tangent.
We've got an episode coming.
There's some amazing stuff out there. And I would just love for, over time, clients, contractors, designers to be aware of these sometimes hidden, sometimes invisible, but really mighty and powerful changes that you can bring forward. And if we're willing, again, to go back to that investment, if you're willing to put that effort in at the beginning and trust that this is for a more robust outcome, watch and see. You're going to be floored. It's going to be beautiful and healthy.
It's amazing.
So,
which is why all of our old lady clients are like, I need Soil Builder, because they know. They've seen it.
Yes. So once you're a fan, you're forever a fan.
You're
it's just getting the education piece across so that we have more soil fans in the world.
Totally. Okay. That's my super geek. And you're also obviously super geeking on it too.
I know.
But what about you? What's your favorite episode coming up this season?
We'll see for sure if we can confirm them, but I would love to have this conversation again about design and about this concept of using clients' projects where there's a willingness to be a test case and using that ability to have access to resource, access to the bandwidth for some experimentation, to be able to prove out the concepts that we have for better design, better installation. A designer I really admire. I'm hoping we can get her in here and have this conversation, because I think there's some amazing precedents from around the world of people that are willing to go out and try something new, that guinea pig, and then construct something that is a living textbook. And now we can point to it and we can show folks, whether they're other private clients, whether they're municipalities, whether whoever is learning from these examples. When you have something real life in the ground to point to, it's wildly informative and powerful as opposed to a theoretical idea. And so to witness designers able to help guide clients toward really thoughtful new ways of doing things, and then using that to become the door that opens the conversation for a wider application and for projects ultimately where, sure, you might not be working on a really complex estate with a lot of resources, but now if that design concept is proven, you can bring it back to an urban lot where someone in their backyard might be really excited to try something because they've seen that, oh, that works. There's a great example. I want a little bit of that. So that conversation is really inspiring to me. I think we have opportunity to set really great examples with the confidence and partnership of thoughtful clients and builders. That's why I'm jazzed.
And we're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
We always do. We've done some cool stuff together.
That's right.
Yeah. Even just launching this. We really hope that at the end of this podcast, at the end of every episode, you feel like you have walked away with some really good understandings, like you've walked away with some really good skills or tactics or answers or questions to ask that make you feel empowered to help your projects, your clients, and your vendors in your area make better decisions. And whether it's more money or it's just a sidestep, same money, but a better product, we want to help empower you to create resilience within your landscapes and regenerative practices and soils and gardens so that you can help be on the upswing of bringing this landscape industry back to truly regenerative.